Michael Doyle. Maybe you can give your perspective on that. I know your story, and I know you probably had a ton of opportunity coming out of school to work in hospitals and work for other people, but you decided to start your own business. Why is it important to have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, thank you. I'll also echo what Michael just said. I think that great entrepreneurs are not only about achieving their own goals, but you're setting standards and you're setting examples and you're setting roads for other people to follow. When I graduated from all my medical school and training, there were few reproductive medical specialists because it's a pretty new field, in vitro fertilization and things that you maybe hear about today more often than you used to were brand new. And the very few centers, the very few places in the country that were practicing it were large university-based settings. That's pretty much where all the care was provided in 3 or 4 cities in the United States. So I would define for me, my own trajectory of entrepreneurism was really based on 4 principles or qualities that I think are by no means specific to medicine, and I suspect few, if any of you, will choose to go to medical school, but in whatever path you take, I think number 1, it's most essential that you're able to think on your feet and that you trust in and believe in the decisions you make. You need to, number 2, have the capacity and flexibility to, when needed, reinvent yourself so that you don't start with a concept that you're so engaged to or married to that you can't see to the left or the right, because your path will probably change, or at least should change or need to change many times. So the flexibility to assess, like you just did, look to the left, look to the right, reinvent is the second principle. I think to adapt as well to the needs around you, to create new skill sets as required, and to create value in arenas where value hasn't yet existed. Again, in ways that I'll describe a few that I happen to do in reproductive medicine, but in any business, is the third idea of entrepreneurism that's so important. And if there's one that to me has the most authenticity, it's the 4th one, which is the ability to take the success and the inspiration, if you will, as you lead others, and give back. So to figure out ways when you're going to be judged as an entrepreneur, it's going to be a little bit about the wealth that you acquired or the status that you assumed. It's also going to be about the way that you inspired people and the way that ultimately, I believe, you thought of ways to recreate and to give back. So thinking on your feet, Quentin mentioned, I had a few job options when I got out. They were basically at the places that trained me in 1991. There were 3 universities that had infertility divisions, and I had trained at one point or another in each of the 3. So my decision was, you know what, I think there's a whole big, scary but untested arena out there for a private practice, for a group not associated with research and academics that could focus exclusively on providing care. And I guess bravely, in a way, turned down the salaries and decided to give myself 2 or 3 years to test the waters of private practice. There were no private practices in Connecticut in reproductive medicine. There weren't any in New York. I found, true to my instinct, that within 2 or 3 months of getting out there and offering something that addressed a need that wasn't being addressed, I was never looked back. Over the years, opened up multiple offices in Connecticut, New York, and now some clinic and service stations in Europe and elsewhere in the United States. So I think that when I look back on a decision I may have made here or there, the decision to just do it myself, you may not succeed. Most entrepreneurs don't succeed in every decision. In fact, you won't succeed in most of your decisions. You have to be open to allowing yourself to fail. You can win a batting crown if you're 1 out of 3 times successful. You're not going to be successful most of the time, but if you can take your mistakes and learn from them and adapt to them, you'll be way ahead of your competition. So over the years, I've been in practice now for 21 years. Other practices opened and practices started in Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, providing similar set of services that I did to the local community. And it, again, became, I think, prudent and necessary to find new services that took what I do to the next level. In reproductive medicine, things like egg donation, surrogacy, international services, since infertility is treated in a much more limited way across the country, became, for me, the next arena, and it's enabled me to, again, reinvent my career in ways that continues to make it exciting and put others on the path to come after me, which is exciting. I think the last thing, giving back. What's amazing with a business that's successful and that is looked to inspire others is that you can do it any number of ways. We have scholarship funds now for individuals and families who can't afford fertility treatments. We count the number of babies we have every year. It's 400 or 500. We give $100 for each one. We donate them to services that are relevant to child development or women's health. And I think that the entrepreneurial spirit that extends to those types of gestures empowers you to be much, much more than just a small or medium-sized business that thrives, but to set examples for people both locally and abroad. So I love what I do. I think that if you figure out what you love and don't settle for something too different from that and then evolve it and grow it, it's almost impossible that down the road, when you look back on your career, you won't feel the same way.
Great, and I think that, that's transferable from the medical industry to the legal industry to whatever industry you're in. Michael's too humble a person to tell you that he's probably the best fertility doctor in the States, maybe in the world. And, he would have perhaps never known that if he didn't go out on his own to figure it out.